here, and then we still got about 3 minutes until the stream starts. But it's a beautiful Friday morning. Everybody's having a good day. Maybe a weekend. Made it to the weekend. Alright, I don't think that this will be a positive experience for them. Hello, everybody. How we doing? How are we doing? Huh. Let's go. 1 minute. Oh, Chad. Chad's gonna miss it. Here we go. Go. Whoops. Go. Whoops. It's time. Go. What's chat saying? Everybody's watching. No depth allowed, only cherry pick questions. True. The games is Diablo 4, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, what's going on? Any second. Running late on their own stream. Oof. Chat is bussing today. Do we have our bingo card? Do we have our bingo ready? Oh, let's go. Let's make a bingo card here real quick. Uh, 2D shapes. Okay. That's good. Alright, hurry. Okay, wait, no, this is smaller. 16. Damn it. Okay, the vision. Wait. Changing that in season 2. Okay. Changing that in season 2. Let's see what else. We're sorry. Over here. We've been listening to the community. Okay. What else? Our vision for the future. Oh, Melissa's calling me. Hold on. What else, guys? I need. Damn it, chat. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Sorry. Our vision for the future. Make you feel. I was adding gym tab now. Yo. Shakanini. Shakaniti. Right? Shakaniti. Thank you for the follow, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, dude. I hope COD's going well for you. The boys. Appreciate it, man. We're just setting up our Diablo 4 bingo right here before the live stream. Adding gym tab now. Adding malignant heart tab. What else? What else? What else? I don't have anything else.
I am writing to you because although a great evil is receding from Sanctuary, a new festering curse now spreads its corruption across the land.
Announce.
More dangerous, more malignant than I could have imagined.
Some changes.
I have found a way to stop
chat.
this plague. To rip the dark power of these monsters from their very core and turn it to our advantage in destroying them.
Mention of Barbie.
But I cannot do this alone.
Movie.
Alright,
that's our bingo.
Fallen. My strength is
There's our bingo, chat.
Season
that in season 2, we've been listening to the community. Our vision for the future. Adding malignant heart tab. We're sorry. Adding gym tab now. New class announcement. Reverting some changes. Mention of Barbie movie. New class announce is probably not gonna happen.
Hello,
where's Rod?
Welcome to another Diablo 4 Campfire chat. My name is Adam Fletcher.
The air is malignant.
Director of Community here for Diablo. I'm joined here by Joe Shelley, Game Director of Diablo 4, and Mr. Joe Pipora, the Associate Game Director for Diablo 4. We have a lot to talk about
they
today.
look
obviously
defeated.
We have this Campfire chat because we do want to talk about the patch that just
they do not
this
look
past
so
week.
good. No Rod
patch
either.
110. We've seen a ton of feedback. We've heard a lot of feedback. And so we do want to go through, you know, a lot of the points of feedback that we've been hearing, and at the same time the patch itself. The biggest thing that, you know, to kind of like kick us off here, I think we want to, you know, obviously acknowledge everyone's feedback in regards to reducing player power. We know it is bad. We know it is not fun, and it's something that, you know, we ourselves know that it's not the greatest play experience for players out there. We do want to explain why we ended up doing it within the actual patch, and then of course we also want to talk about like what we were trying to achieve specifically with this patch and with the changes that players ended up seeing. And then separately, we do want to also talk about how we don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again. We have most definitely heard the feedback from the players on that front. I do want to talk a little bit about our philosophy, our own internal statements that we're setting for ourselves for future updates.
Does that count?
The game itself. And then, of course,
does that count as our vision for the future?
How we can talk better and communicate with the community better in regards to patches and updates coming to the game, and what we can do to improve on that. So I know that the first thing we do want to talk about, though, as I said, was talking about why we ended up doing this in this patch, and I do want to throw it over to Mr. Joe Pipor over here to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I know that we've talked on stream before about our intentions for Diablo 4 being a game about choice, and part of that is ensuring that the various class options feel like they've got a place in the meta experience, and that kind of goes to some of the changes we made in 1.1. Now, Adam already called out that we've heard the feedback with regard to the patch.
The vibe is just different. They are not happy about this.
It's never a good experience in general. And I want to talk through sort of some of the things that brought us to where we are today in terms of decisions we were making and why. So a few of the really big changes that were made as part of 1.1. First, really, I guess, to cooldown reduction. We changed the amount of CDR that players can get as part of in the affix ranges and items that are rolling as they're going through the experience. CDR is one of the, if not the most powerful stat in many ways in Diablo 4. And the reason for it is obvious. When you're able to get CDR to a certain point, when using certain class mechanisms, you're able to get effectively instantaneous active skills. So that can give you unlimited resource, it can give you unlimited movement speed, give you unlimited
Who cares? It's fun.
And it begins to dwarf the effectiveness of other options when you can start trying to take these things into account. Now, we know that blasting through content with those things is really fun. So it feels really, really painful to have to take some of those
40,000 viewers.
And we certainly don't relish the idea. That was the original thinking for these sorts of bits. One of the reasons why we think that these builds are very prevalent at the moment.
And they're going to stick by it.
Of some of the end-game content we have in Diablo.
They're going to stand by what they did.
In particular, thinking about Nightmare Dungeons, especially. The reality is that Nightmare Dungeons are dramatically overtuned from where they actually need to be based upon the place they fill in the role they fill in the game itself. So tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons are excruciatingly difficult for most players most classes to be able to actually get through. And as a result, it begins to kind of winnow the opportunities and options that players have when they begin to engage with content at that tier, such that you really do require to lean on very, very specific builds, very specific setups, with access to things like near instantaneous cooldowns for some skills, in an effort to actually make it through those spaces. And that was never really the intent of that content. And we see that, right? Players are using Nightmare Dungeons as ways to kind of level up their glyphs, ways for them to gain experience and loot as they're progressing up. It's largely like a level up system that you're progressing with once you get into World Tiers 3 and 4. But they've taken on an outsized role as sort of this new end-game chase opportunity for players who are looking to really challenge themselves. And we love that we want that kind of content, and we want that
What's he saying?
Those players. And we feel like we have done a reasonably good job of that with Uber Lilith in the game. But we don't feel that tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons fulfill the same role at all. Just the nature of the content type doesn't actually work well as that kind of pushing opportunity. So one thing we actually plan on doing, and we'd hope to get out as part of this release, we're going to get out very, very soon, is we're making a reduction in the difficulty of some aspects of Nightmare Dungeons to kind of retune some things. And the goal here is to say that, we think that roughly where you are with a Nightmare Dungeon tier 70, that's kind of where we actually want the difficulty to be for a tier 100 as players are going through the experience. So there's still a thing to push for, but it's more reasonable. And as part of this exchange, we know that players really like kind of blasting and pushing hard for these.
Who asked about that?
Achievements. We are going to be looking at creating a new content type, a new end game content type to be more directly meant to address those sorts of players and give people more things to chase.
Huh?
That's part of the commitment to the live services, to make sure that we're always adding new things like this for players to go and try to kind of chase after, to kind of maximize and use their builds in fun and interesting ways. So that's another really big thing. Next, we made a number of changes to the to sorceress skill, sorceress builds in general. That sort of ended up having a net impact of like really reducing their effectiveness with some of their most powerful builds at the moment. And the goal at the time was to try to bring their builds back in line with one another, so that we could start trying to bring everything up at once, as opposed to having these things as they are. And this actually leads to a really good conversation about the idea of balance in general. I said before that Diablo 4 is a game that is about choice, and that remains our goal. That's our guiding light. We're trying to make decisions on balance and design in general. And sometimes we don't always get it quite right, and I think that we see that with some builds that are just simply not performing to the level they need to be, because they just don't have the right interactions with the kind of content or skills that you actually really want to use to get through the game. This is an example of like when we're thinking about our goals in terms of creating this balanced experience where there's lots of interesting choices for players to engage with. We cannot make balanced decisions without kind of accounting for the way that players are going to feel about those things who are playing those classes. Like if our goal is to create an ultimately balanced experience, without regard for how much fun the player's having as part of that exchange, that's ultimately that would be like a failure on our part to not kind of think about things. So we have plans that we're going to talk about a little bit later to kind of address this more clearly. But understand that we've heard this, and we have plans in the very near future to address these sorts of things. Another bit that speaks to this is the change that was made for vulnerable damage. Now, I think that there are a lot of players in the community who like kind of dove deep into a lot of our systems in Diablo 4. And kind of see that vulnerable damage is a really outsized role that it plays in terms of
he's just like,
to the point where it feels that you'll get to certain parts of content and creatures sort of need to be vulnerable in order for you to feel that you need to that you can damage them.
He's like,
this is something
dancing
that we're very
around
aware
like
of.
the topic.
We made a reduction as part of the 1.1 build that reduced player damage in general, because most players rely on many builds, I should say, rely on vulnerable damage to deal
boring
as kind of spike in lots of different kinds of content. This is something we also need to talk about. Vulnerable damage is far more potent right now than we actually want it to be in general across the game. I think I've talked about this before.
What?
And we need to make a number of we need to kind of bring these things back in line. But this is a more complicated conversation than simply just saying we can take a bonus damage to vulnerable creatures number and reduce it by 40% in terms of the amount of damage you can get accrue across different sources, and have that be the way that we solve this problem. Really, I think we all know that the ultimate problem with damage to vulnerable creatures, the fact is multiplicative stacking on top of the base vulnerable damage, which is already multiplicative on its own. Like this is the reason why the stat plays such an outsized role in a lot of player builds. We're going to need to move that to an additive place, but we can't do that without making a number of other adjustments to critical strike damage, to the way that overpowered damage is both calculated and dealt to creatures, and the availability of these things across various builds. There's lots of builds that rely on vulnerable, and they're balanced around the idea that the damage is also multiplicative. So a number of their balance and tuning changes will need to be made in order to be able to bring vulnerable back in line with some of the other options we have out there. So this is how we're kind of thinking about these things.
It's been 45 minutes.
We want to start trying to be a little more inclusive of all these decisions when we begin considering which of these balance adjustments we want to make, rather than being in this iterative place where we're making small adjustments to a number of different things along the way with an end goal in mind of where we actually eventually want to be. We want to be trying to consider what the experience is going to be like from moment to moment, rather from update to update and release to release, to get things in a better spot. So while we do believe that having our season roll gives us the opportunity to kind of reset our meta and change a lot of things, that obviously has an impact on internal players, the way that they kind of perceive the characters they're still playing in that space, and it can be disruptive for players who found a particular playstyle that they're really excited about. So so I know that Joe, you're going to talk about some of these things in a minute. So this is an awkward handoff.
What did he say?
I just want to make it right. It's a very awkward handoff. Okay. I'm sorry. But I want people to understand that we do hear the things that they're saying. we do plan on making changes in the near future, and just kind of thinking philosophically.
Making changes in the near future.
We want to address these things moving forward. And with that, I guess Joe.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
About your thinking.
Yeah, so I think it's.
This is my bingo.
A great lead in here. We want, as Adam mentioned, we want to talk.
Kind of did it last minute,
we
but
kind of talked a little bit about how we got here. We want to talk about.
So making changes in the future.
What we're gonna do about that. I mean, I think one of the really good points you made is like, vulnerable.
Chat is pissed.
For example, vulnerable is like a must-take stat, right? And it would be better if it wasn't a must.
Is the volume good?
But more of a build option.
The game will be better when that's the case. But if along the way to getting to that, the game is less fun, then we're not fulfilling our.
This guy looks defeated.
Players, right?
That's right.
So I want to talk about.
They're all just
our mission statement for the live game.
Womp.
And I think we have a yeah, perfect. So there are four parts to this. We're going to start with the first part. We want the live game to always have a wide variety of viable builds. To put together, to acquire the items for, and to optimize across all 5 of.
What is this?
Second point.
Wait, what?
Every season should introduce new items and powers that keep the game fresh and increase build variety. Moving on to the third point. The live game should also have continually evolving end game content. And that
they're doubling down.
Monster density for powerful builds to mow down. And
they're doubling down.
To challenge your build. And
they're double dipping.
You were just talking about how while Nightmare Dungeons, I'll get to the fourth point in a second. While Nightmare Dungeons,
they're double dipping.
Technically challenging your build. They're challenging your build in some ways that are not very fun, right?
Yep.
Like being CC'd all the time.
Yes, that's correct. Going through 20 tiers of Nightmare Dungeons where every monster can one-shot you, and then if you get clipped by one bit of chill, you're permanently snared, right? Or not completely frozen. Like these are not things that the Nightmare Dungeons system is doing particularly well right now in terms of making challenging content.
Right. So I think that's why it's so important. Your call out that we plan to introduce additional content that fulfills that part of the mission statement to challenge your builds. If we can go back to the screen.
Whoa!
And of course, ultimately what we're trying to do is make the game more fun for players, right? Players are at the heart of everything that we're doing. And the game is to be more fun for players, and we're not making the game. If players can't
make the game more fun,
as the game evolves, it will get more fun. Then we're not accomplishing our goals either, right? And so the other point I want to go to here is a change that Adam was talking about. How do we make sure that the next time we do a patch, we don't have this doesn't happen, right? Yep. And so I want to talk about we call it a key process improvement. That's like a weird jargon term. A change that we're making that will help us avoid this situation.
Rod Ferguson didn't even pull up.
When we make, and this goes again, this is right along what you were saying here. When we make changes to increase build diversity, our goal, going back to the mission statement, is we want to have a wide variety of viable builds, right? So when we make changes that have the ultimate aim of increasing build diversity, we need to pair those changes with compelling alternatives. And that means that there are some builds that'll be overpowered.
What is he saying?
We can't nerf those overpowered builds without providing compelling alternatives for players to pursue.
That's right. It means that things like when we identify that there are a few individual like meta builds or stats that are like really, really powerful within preseason or within a season, that until we have created those other options and redesigned things around the nature of these and made sure that we've lifted up other options and brought everything in line, we're not going to move on those changes. You know, there's going to be always situations where there are extraordinary outliers. You know, that we're going to want. They're usually relying on like actual bugs.
Did they? I don't know if they said reverting some changes specifically yet, though.
When it comes to like trying to bring things back in line with one another, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing those. When we make those decisions, we have a bevy of other options and alternatives available for players to engage with at the same time. So if players see just taking like a toy away, that we're giving them lots of other toys or lifting up other toys, you know, to make them more viable as part of the exchange.
Yeah, and that those toys are equally exciting.
Yes.
So let's go to the second point of this here. When we make changes like this, it's important for us to make them at predictable times, and Adam's going to talk a little bit more about our communication strategy here in a bit. The start of a season is an especially good time for meta changes to happen because there's a big refresh, everyone is rolling new characters, and there's new seasonal content, right? And changes like that will also...
Oh my god, we messed up. Might we do something, but probably not something you like.
And the third point here, as Joe alluded to,
situations where a bug is causing game-breaking damage or crashes will react quickly. What do you mean?
We had a skill that could do 10 to the 37 damage.
Stop the cap,
like
dude. They're just lying.
The damage is literally breaking the game or servers. We'll still react to those situations.
It's still in the game.
The first point here.
Is it? I don't know.
Allowing builds to be overpowered. And I think, you know, one of the things that's important for to recognize and state is that ultimately ARPGs, or some people call them hack and slash games, are about power fantasy, right? And they're about us inviting players to break the game to some extent, not to crash. Like there are lots of ways to interpret the word break, but and find fun toys that we've made, do crazy things with them, and we need to make sure that we aren't trying to punish players for doing that. Like, because ultimately that's the playground we built. That's like that we built a game that's like, go find crazy stuff, and we need to make sure that when players take that invitation, that we're not punishing them for that.
That's right.
Yeah, and I know when we were talking about at least the Nightmare Dungeon stuff beforehand, and we can go into it in a little bit more detail once we get to the stuff that might be coming down the pipe here. The one thing I think that I wanted to like really highlight on was, you know, obviously we did this patch and we made these changes and we brought you know, character power down, like player power down essentially. That in itself was also
this is the lead director. This is the associate director.
That you know, where Joe was actually talking about earlier, and
this is the guy in charge.
Learned throughout this process.
This is he works for him.
About that, you know, we have ultimate visions for something.
This is the lead game director,
and doing that all together at once during those moments, as opposed to doing them over time and whatnot, just leads to a better experience overall for players, and that's something that we most definitely will be doing as we build out, you know, future updates and patches and so forth. Of course, a key component to this is how we communicate to players, and you know, there is been a lot of feedback in regards to like, hey, it would have been great if we knew some of these changes were coming down the pipe, and you know, it's a hefty amount of patch notes. We could have digested this like over a few days beforehand or a week beforehand. So one thing we do want to commit to right now is that we do plan on going forward always providing patch notes and communicating these patch notes through streams like this, through Campfire chats or developer update live streams beforehand, well beforehand, like, you know, at least a week before the actual update hits.
They haven't said anything, bro.
No matter state, because I know sometimes we're still like trying to like maybe potentially squeeze in a few different things into patch notes and stuff like that up until like the last second, just on the nature of production of how we are. But I will say we do plan on sharing those no matter what to the community going forward, and from here on out through a stream or written through blog or something like that beforehand, well beforehand, before players can actually get them get into game and actually try it out on their end. So at least we can hear feedback and you guys can actually digest the information beforehand. In fact, we do actually have, of course, future updates here that we do want to talk about here really quickly. But one thing that we will commit to right now is that next Friday, so exactly 1 week from now, we'll be back on a live stream, because we will start with that that live stream where we will be talking about our next patch that will be coming to Diablo 4. We'll talk a little bit about some of the details here, but we'll go into more detail next Friday specifically.
They got nothing.
We'll be back on here to kind of go through the whole entire.
I'm getting sick of watching these developer live streams. I'm going to be honest.
So everyone has a better expectation of what they're going to be seeing in the actual.
It's just boring as fuck, dude.
And they can talk to us through chat, through devs, or through social media, through Reddit, through our forums, etc. beforehand, before the actual patch hits. So we will get times and remind everyone, of course, throughout the week that we will have another Campfire chat to talk about patch 111, since we just shipped 110.
111, 112,
but we do want to talk a little bit about patch 111 today, just because there are some items that we are aware of that we know will be of interest to players, specifically when it comes to things that they've been asking for, and at least it gives you guys a little bit of an early preview of some stuff that's coming.
Something.
I think one big thing that everyone has been kind of talking about as of late from this current patch is like some of the sorcerer and barbarian items and stuff like that, and how we've obviously tuned a lot of classes down, and there's questions of like, hey, is there any changes in the future for those two?
Yeah, we're taking a long look at a lot of the sorceress and barbarian aspects that aren't being like utilized very well right now, and trying to lift a lot of those back up. So there's going to be a wide range of like legendary power and unique item improvements for these two classes in particular. We're taking a look at a lot of things, but we're really honing in specifically on sorceress first, and then also getting a lot of barbarian updates in there at the same time. And this is for
They're not sorry, chat.
1.1. Correct. So the very next patch and cycle.
Yeah, and we expect that patch. Obviously, if we're having a live stream now, next Friday, we expect that patch here in the next like couple weeks or so. So at least you guys can get an early preview on it.
Yeah, and on that Friday, we'll be talking a lot about like the specifics of all of those changes and kind of hearing what the community says.
Yep.
It feels like
and
you know what the community says.
The Nightmare Dungeon items that we were just talking about just now, that's actually we're planning on actually rolling that out in a hotfix specifically, and that is something that we actually plan on rolling out later today. So we'll have more information.
So the only thing that's happening
changes that will be that we talked about
is they're
earlier,
nerfing Nightmare Dungeons to where basically the scaling
talked about in patch notes
of 100 will be equal to that of a 70.
And now we're kind of, and we had mentioned that to players that we did plan on bringing it back up. It is monster density in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. So I know that you guys.
Why don't they just be like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah,
Monster density,
I mean,
increase.
Going back to the mission statement I mentioned earlier.
Nerf Nightmare Dungeons.
Boom. Key part of
like, why is it like I gotta like find this information?
High density areas for players to mow down, right?
And key part of ARPGs, right?
Key part, of which Diablo 4 is one.
That's true.
Pardon my grammar. And so we're going to be increasing the density in Nightmare Dungeons substantially.
Okay.
And we're going to be increasing the density in Helltide as well. Now, with the Nightmare Dungeon changes across the board for Nightmare Dungeons, all Nightmare Dungeons will get more dense. The Helltide change, there are certain areas of Helltide that are extremely dense, right? Yep. Like the tar pits, for example, is very dense. Areas like that probably won't get more dense. And part of what we've been doing here at the same time in terms of these density changes is making sure that we're making performance improvements, like looking at player skills that are taking a lot of time on the servers, getting those into better performance so players have better frame rates and stuff, and fewer stalls, and all these kinds of things that make the game more fun to play. And this also helps us increase the number of, like, more monsters, more players, more stuff going on. And we know that the density in Nightmare Dungeons in particular needs to go up. And so we've been working on that to make sure that we can accomplish that. So density in Helltide will go up. not uniformly. Density in Nightmare Dungeons will go up uniformly, and these will be substantial increases.
Yep. Which I know players have been talking about constantly.
Yeah.
Wanting additional density on this.
Right, rightly so.
And a big topic right now is inventory concerns. We've heard from players. I know we've talked about gems and so forth actually becoming materials in Season 2, which to help out with some inventory concerns specifically. I know you guys have information, at least in regards to stash, and what might be coming in 1.1.1.
Yes. So certainly the gem change is still coming in Season 2, like you said. But we need more stash help now, right? And so in 1.1.1, we're going to be adding an additional stash tab for players. So
stash tab.
More aspects, more Malignant Hearts.
Yeah, this has been like an ongoing conversation every week inside the dev team of like, do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Like
it's like you guys know what the fuck you need to do.
The engineering team's been working really, really hard to be able to like make.
You guys literally know what to do.
And there's more that we're doing. This is now a never-ending conversation of like what else can we do and what else can we be doing to try to improve the experience? But like
you guys
we definitely
know
heard these two concerns, and we're just really happy to be able to bring them in as early as 1.1.1.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention that along with the stash tab, we're making a small change to elixir stack size. We're going to bring that up to 99. So that'll help a little bit.
Awesome.
What?
Obviously, like with new starts to seasons, and if we do have these types of changes that occur within the patch that may change, whether it's the meta or the balance of specific things, there's been questions related to respecs and how that has been pretty expensive on people's like their own personal economies with gold and so forth. I know we have respec changes that are also coming with the game itself. You guys probably know more specifics on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, this really goes back. Joe was talking about our commitment to choice earlier, and it also, but I think it also goes back to we say in the mission statement we want to have a wide variety of viable builds. Great, but if you can't switch between those builds, then it still feels punishing, right? So we're going to bring respec costs down by about 40%, quite a bit.
Yeah, so it should help out with people that
but
want
who
to switch over to a
cares,
different build and so
right?
forth, or they do have to adjust over to another build. They get the option of actually being able to do so, or have an easier option of being able to do so.
And that'll be in 1.1.1.
And that'll be in 1.1.1 being able to do so, or have an easier option of being. And then I know lastly, like one big thing is as players kind of progress through the game. And the leveling curve kind of goes through, especially like 70 or so. We've been looking at the player journey and how they've been getting up to 100. I know there's some changes that you guys are looking at in terms of like experience and so forth from that end.
Yeah, I mean the short version is we want to make leveling from 50 to 100 faster by adjusting XP. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I realized when I was talking earlier about the changes we made. Obviously, we also made the change to XP gain when fighting creatures above your level, and I failed to mention this discussing it.
Yeah.
So the original intent for that was we found players basically sitting at like fighting creatures like 3 levels above them and never felt like they were really challenging themselves beyond that. We wanted to stretch that out a bit further, but that went from a 25% bonus to a 15% bonus, and we knew that density changes were coming online, so we thought about this a little bit, but. I read a lot of feedback, like afterwards in particular, that just made it sound like people thought that we were just trying to make the game take longer, which wasn't actually the goal, but realized that the 25% to 15% change did constitute a nerf. As a result, that is the thing that we're thinking about as well.
We are not trying to slow down the game.
No,
yeah, you
and
are.
to that point, like we had a vision for how we have a vision.
Yeah,
for
you
how
are.
the,
Yeah, you are. Cap.
For players. We realized
yes,
it's
you are.
taking
Cap.
a little bit longer than that, than what our vision was originally for a lot of folks that are leveling up, particularly when they get to certain parts of the game, like when they're World Tiers 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So we are looking to like really to readjust the XP rates for those areas, because we aren't looking to like have you hit this absolute brick wall when you hit like level 70 or something, right? Like there's not like these moments where you're going to feel like you just can't, or 75. Like we don't want you to have this feeling that you just can't make meaningful progress, that we're just artificially holding you back. That's never been the vision or the goal. right? Just it ended up working out that just it wasn't the players weren't earning XP at the rate that we had originally expected. Is what it really came down to. So these are like we are making changes in this regard to kind of bring this down a bit. Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen certainly we did things like increase the XP bonus for Nightmare Dungeons a while back quite substantially.
Yeah, and Whisper Completion, Helltide chests. Yeah.
Now, notwithstanding that, there are changes to XP related to addressing,
your notes,
the power leveling case, because we don't have like group up, have fun with your friends, like power leveling each other. The only case that we think is not very fun is the case where one person is standing at the entrance to the dungeon and the other person is having all the fun. Monsters.
Yeah.
Well, too bad
and
the
so,
fucking top 1,000 people already got their name on the statue before you realize that's a bad idea.
In 1.1.0, we think that additional changes need to be made to make the game faster, especially between 50 and 100.
Yeah, we want level 1 to 100 to feel like an achievement, but not like a job.
Yeah.
Right. So like we want to make some adjustments to make sure that it feels fun.
It is a job.
Very achievable, obviously within the season timeline. But yeah, so we are going to make some adjustments. Talking about more probably next week. In terms of with more specificity.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're saying, oh, we're looking into it. Oh, we're looking into it. Oh, we're looking into it. Oh, we're thinking about that. Oh, yeah, changes in the future. Oh,
all the details of the changes, including the barb and like sorcerer changes that Joe had mentioned, along with other changes that we are preparing right now for the patch itself. That patch itself is supposed to be hitting in the next couple weeks. Obviously, if we're doing the stream on Friday, it means it's coming pretty darn soon for after that stream. So, but we did want to make sure that we got in front of players to actually talk to them about everything, and we plan on doing that going forward. If we ever have one of these larger patches that actually make some pretty significant changes within the game, we'll either get in front of you guys via stream, or we'll end up posting about them earlier so that you guys get a better idea of what's to come for those. I know that we do want to take a bunch of questions from chat and so forth. I know
I got a question.
The question that has always kind of come up has been about leaderboards and
so
forth within, and the expectation of when those might be coming
Message
in.
wasn't posted in the
I know that ideally we're aiming for season 3 for the leaderboards in
okay, let's pick out the paid actors for their carefully curated questions.
Additional insight onto those.
When will leaderboards be added? Oh,
so one thing that's really important for leaderboards in Diablo 4 is that we don't think that like tying this directly to Nightmare Dungeons or content type exactly like that is going to make a lot of sense because the variety of the nature of the system. So we want to make a content type that kind of partners directly with leaderboards so that you can be judged in kind of like this kind of more even playing field when you're going through that experience. But that is content that we are actively in development on and are excited to try to get ready for season 3. So we're going to be making I'm sorry. The short answer to this is so we excited about competitive feature. We are making a specific content type that goes alongside that you're judging yourself against, and we're looking for season 3 for that.
Season 3
question from You Stupid Walrus is Uber Uniques. What's the future? They mathematically don't exist, so I don't think it's a good waste of resources of them anymore.
Sorry, I was really distracted by the walrus.
Okay.
Can you read the question again?
Not even paying attention.
Oh, right.
What's the future? They mathematically don't exist, so I don't think it's good to waste resources on them in the future.
Yeah, it's a good question.
What's the question?
Uber Uniques are designed in such a way that they are a huge spike of power. And we're receiving feedback, and we understand the feedback on some of them. But they represent a huge spike of power.
Fake
and
question.
As such, are not expected to be part of builds necessarily. One of our goals underlying is we don't want players to feel that one of these are mandatory that you must find in an effort to bring your build online. From the ground up, we kind of made the decision to say it is okay if we want players to find these, but we don't want them to expect to find these. Which is a difficult place to balance in terms of drop rates when you're thinking about these. Now, right now, I believe that they are exceedingly rare, and we do want them to feel very, very rare. But I suspect that as we start moving into future seasons, we do want to find more ways for players, or more opportunities for players to get chances at these. And I imagine we'll be able to talk about that soon. But I would suggest that like the current drop rates are probably not going to be the drop rates forever. We'll probably make those a little bit more common, a little more likely to be found as time goes on?
A big topic that I'm seeing just pop up in chat and so forth. A lot of comments about crowd control.
Sure,
and if there's any plans or ways that we're looking at addressing crowd control here in the future.
Yeah,
like the Shaco, yeah.
As I mentioned earlier in the stream, or well, I think we both talked about it.
I don't know what he said about it.
That
it
when you have high density of monsters on screen and you have a lot of elites, the crowd control, the tools that you have for crowd control are not.
I don't know why it's like
need to be better. Basically.
When
and
are you
some of
going
that
to
is
do
gonna be
this?
Adjustments to things that feel.
Right,
unfair.
ask a question directly. Like, Chad, when are you going to do this?
Tool adjustments in terms of your tools.
Like, well,
I think that will be
our vision for the future. You know, it's closely aligned with our morals and values of the company. And we talk about this like very day often. You know, everyone I see Donna in the morning for coffee. I say, oh, hey, Donna, when are we going to add that feature to the thing? So I'm like, tomorrow. But why didn't you say tomorrow?
Hi, I'm so bad. IK Recoat. I tried. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry.
Paid actor.
When will loadouts be added?
Loadouts?
Yeah, it's a feature that the UI team is very excited about, and something we've talked about a bit internally. We don't have a timeline
Season 5
Uh-huh.
for the idea of loadouts just yet, but it is something that we're continuing to actively talk about. When we have more information to share,
we're talking
in terms
about
of
it, bro.
like when something like this could potentially be added to Diablo 4, I'm sure that we'll talk.
Did they say reverting some changes?
Barago, Zero says, what is the time frame on 111? It doesn't seem very clear. Is it before the middle of the season? How long do I need to wait for Sorcerer and Barbs to have their changes and be playable? It is much sooner than mid-season. As I said, it's only like a couple weeks.
Oh, so
away,
they are reverting some
weeks.
changes.
I mean, like
Barb Source.
very, very soon. Like if we're doing a stream on Friday, I would expect it within a couple days after the stream.
We have to provide some. If we say anything too specific today, production will choke us out. So we have to be very careful about the language we use. But yes, very soon.
Only because with patches themselves, of course, you know there are. We're on a lot of different platforms and everything, and of course those go through certification. If a certification gets pushed back,
They can't even say like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month.
Adjust schedules, so it's hard for us to actually put a specific time on it until that actually occurs. But very, very soon. BaldBeast79, are there any plans for some changes for experience between, say, level 75 to 100? This is actually something that we just commented on, but the journey feels a bit dull. There are several events, but only nightmare dungeons to provide challenge. World bosses, Helltides, and Whispers are a good idea, but just too easy.
Yeah, there's so we talked.
Wait,
about,
did they even add
a
new world boss?
Are we making changes to the XP progression for players while they're moving through, like World Tier 4 in this case? And the answer is yes. We are going to be looking at making changes to that, and we'll talk more about that soon. And then, secondly, do we feel that there are the right number of like milestones for players to engage with? Enough goals to kind of like consume while you're also just leveling up, and enough content to kind of do as you're leveling up in these world tiers. And I think that the answer is no. That we know that there's more things that we need to add. To the game, particularly for World Tier 4. But really just once you get into World Tier 3 and 4, just want to find more opportunities and more content and new things for players to do as they're leveling up through those spaces. And we do have plans for those things, and we do have thoughts on stuff we want to add in Season 2 in particular, and some things we're looking to continue to talk about moving forward. But yeah, we recognize that there's more we would like to add to that journey to kind of create more variety and more moments of challenge as well while you're progressing. And not just at 100, but all along the way.
Podoc24 says, what are your plans to adjust loot drops? This I'm going to add on to his question after I read it. It feels very frustrating to grind for days without ever seeing anything close to an upgrade or finding the right aspect. Even worse, when you finally do it and it's a terrible roll. Slightly, I'm also going to modify that and mention target farming, which has also been a topic within the community. I'm not sure if you guys want to have any plans and so forth for that.
So I think there's a couple parts of this as well, right? There's the idea of I grind for a long time to get an item, and the item is not an upgrade. And particularly, when you're in World Tiers 3 and 4, where you start dealing with sacred items and ancestral items, where you're kind of dealing with this larger bucket of eye power range, this can certainly tend to be true, unless you're looking for specific kinds of affixes, you're looking for particular kinds of rolls, right? So there's a couple things. One, we know we want to try to reduce the difficulty of like kind of comparing and looking at a number of different items all at once and trying to get a better sense of that. These are things the UI team is very passionate about, and conversations are ongoing in terms of how we want to achieve that. Like things like loot filters, things like that. There's the idea of like how does the progression of itemization feel, particularly in World Tier 4, while you're leveling up there. And the systems team has ideas on things they would like to include. It's too early for us to say exactly, to like really like lay them all out just now. But there are ideas and things we want to do to kind of improve the feeling of progression through the ancestral tier, so that you feel like there's more thresholds and there's more opportunities to kind of get upgrades as you go. And then lastly, there's this idea of target farming. So legendary aspects are a place I think that we can afford to do more. We know that players are looking for certain aspects. They're trying to find certain things. They're trying to find particularly unique items. I think is often the case, right? They want their Tempest Roar, whatever it is they're looking for. They're looking for that thing. We do have plans in Season 2 right now to have more content you can try to target farm in order to find certain unique items. And I think there's a natural extension of that to figure out like what's the right way for players to be able to find an easier method of getting into some of the aspects they might be looking for.
Season 2 is 3 months away.
So that is something that the rewards and systems teams will
ban me every fucking time I try to post a question.
Easier method of getting into some aspects they might be
have an update here
as they're progressing.
Which we
so that is something that
there are going to be other patches before Season 2 and so forth, with additional changes and items that we just haven't noted, and I just want to clarify specifically on that. We do have more patches beyond 1.1.1 before Season 2 to address a lot of feedback that we're receiving from players and a lot of opportunities for us to actually do so. Can we get some sort of matchmaking system to help with partying up with random people or group finders? I know we had talked about group finders before. I know this is something that the team has obviously received feedback about, like helping out with like the social systems and so forth within the game. It is being evaluated, I know, and the teams are looking at it. We just don't have an exact timeline of
every question. We're looking into it. Okay, don't worry.
Are there going to be changes with ARM? Oh, sorry, I forgot to. That was Andy for me.
Don't worry. Stop asking. We're looking into it. Okay.
Are there going to be changes with armor regarding survivability? Hardcore is almost unplayable on Sorcerer, with one-shots from corpse bows and low innate due to low innate armor.
Yeah, I think survivability, especially on Sorcerer,
corpse bow one-shot
is something that the changes that
off screen
I was talking about for. That we'll be talking about in more detail next week as one of the things we want to include in that. We recognize that.
Yeah, we also identified there are a few outstanding monster types and abilities that are doing that are killing players a little more frequently than we expect, and like we're looking at like creatures that explode when they die, for example, claim an awful lot of lives, right? Creatures that can chill. Claim an awful lot of lives, right?
Or charging creatures, we've also learned.
And charging creatures, yeah.
I've seen a lot of reports about that, and I know, and you're about
which I think have been nerfed like twice now. Too,
well, there's a bug fix on the Beast Charge in particular, where Beast Charge could deal damage even if you interrupted the charge or the beast died.
Oh, I see. So, well, that's a good bug fix. So, I mean, we're identifying some of these like really difficult affixes, really difficult nightmare dungeon.
We're aware of it.
Or, like really ones that claim lots.
We're looking into how to fix it.
Lives as part of that.
But the earliest we can do
it's Sorcerer survivability is absolutely an
Season 3.
issue, and we're going to be talking about it more in the 1.1.1 conversation next week. But there's also the idea of like there's a lot of things out there that are just doing a lot of like what feels to the player in the moment pretty cheap, like unfair, like I sort of just died, don't really see what happened. So we're looking at more of these situations and trying to figure out the right places to make adjustments. We don't want the game to be easy, we don't want you to be able to walk through every encounter, and we want the game to feel deadly at times. We want you to feel like you had an opportunity to kind of evade or deal with those situations.
In regards to someone, Zeus DNA says we'll be seeing the hotfix notes before the hotfix comes out today. Yeah, we'll get the notes up. The deployment hasn't started, and it's not starting until later this afternoon, but we'll get the notes up so that players can see it, and we'll be mentioning it so that players can actually read through them and so forth.
Right.
This is a pretty large hotfix in terms of like items that we're actually fixing and the Nightmare Dungeon stuff that we had just talked about.
Yep.
Templar Knights asks, question, can we change the codex in such a way that we can upgrade the values with founded legendary items? This could reduce the demand to stash, avoid aspects laying around, easier adopting player-tier balance changes, but we still want to find items and increase codex values.
Yeah, so we know that one of the key things that players are carrying in their stash right now are lots and lots of aspects. Yeah. And we're talking about ways to address that. That's an interesting suggestion. That I think it's sort of going toward the same direction here, which is like, how can we address the case where your stash is completely full of aspects? Certainly having an extra stash tab will not hurt that problem, but I think there's more that we'd like to do in terms of the aspects.
Yeah, it's certainly something we've been discussing internally for a while. I think part of this is just how much fun is it to be able to extract an aspect from an item and be able to maintain that role? And then how much is that fun so fun that it's worth like some of the inventory pressure that comes about as a result of that? Yeah. That's a conversation we've had within the dev team. We're going to continue to talk about it, but we know that there's definitely a lot of improvements we can make to the Codex of Power, for example, to kind of like be embracing some of these other like affix extraction systems.
Question from DRJ16. Has the team considered how certain nerfs like weapon cooldown reduction are so much more impactful for certain classes than others?
Yes, the team is definitely aware that some of these changes disproportionately affect, like the vulnerable damage change disproportionately affecting like Cold Sorks. We're definitely aware that some of these changes disproportionately affect some classes and builds more than others. And this goes back to my earlier point about when we're going to be making changes like this moving forward, that we know we're going to have this have an overall effect of reducing certain effects down, or rather reducing certain like powers or affixes or whatever it is down to a place where we want people to use the baseline to kind of build from for other parts of the game. That when we do those things, it's going to affect these different players in different ways, and they're not going to enjoy that if we've ruined their build in order to try to leave the garden and get things in a better place. Like ultimately, we're going to be trying to do a lot more situations where if we're going to take a thing away, if we're going to update something where it's no longer going to be as valuable as part of your build, we want to provide a lot of other options as part of that. Yeah. Make sure we don't leave the build with a gaping like giant hole in it as a result of the change that we made. So this is going to, again, it's going to mean that moving forward when we're making like larger scale balance and tuning adjustments, we're going to do those a little bit more slowly as a result, in order to make sure that we're embracing all of these other like components to give a lot of options all at once when we make a change.
Yeah, it goes back to the change we had on the screen before, right? We're going to provide compelling alternatives when we make those kinds of changes.
That's a punchy way to say it.
Punchy way. Kennywa says, question, why did you guys increase the cast time on stuff like leaving dungeons? Feels like you're trying to slow down the game by making us waste time for something that might feel useless.
We can look at that. We'll continue to evaluate that change. It's a fairly small difference. I know that in an ARPG, small amounts of time can be meaningful. We did add the reset dungeon button back in. It does require that you're outside the dungeon, and so there's kind of a loop there.
What is that?
Loki,
we can look into that. Like, bro, you put it in.
Add more than 6 or 7 items a season. Are there plans to add more? The feeling is they feel like they would want more items per season that are actually added in.
Yeah, we've always said that we wanted to take in the feedback from the players as we kind of got these seasons out the door. So season 1, we add the 32 Malignant Hearts, which I think have been pretty cool. We're going to be looking at the balance, some of them to kind of like lift them up, make them a little more exciting in some places. But broadly, we're pretty happy. They generally are. And then we have our uniques and our legendary items that we added with the season as well. I think if we see that there's like a lot of interest in trying to get more of these, we can start trying to think about how we can inject a few more legendaries into the game with each season, or a couple more uniques potentially into the game with each season. But we want to continue to see like kind of what the feedback looks like. This is a good example of people asking for more. So yeah, good to know.
Separately from that, like, are you guys looking at potentially like reworking or redoing some things?
So that means patch 1.1.1 is kind of in that vein of trying to like get these things into a slightly better place. And we do want to go back over our existing legendary power library and identify the ones where they can afford to be lifted up with redesigns and changing the way that some parts of them work, so they better fulfill the stated purpose in terms of where they're supposed to sit in builds. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for that along the way as well. It's not going to be the only way we inject like new fun in the game isn't going to just be through the season mechanic, isn't just going to be through the addition of brand new legendaries uniques, but also going back over the existing legendary powers after we see players use them a little bit more, making adjustments accordingly.
Question from Panda Mousy and Mormra. Same question, actually. What's your plan for resistances? Right now, they feel like a wasted stat.
Season 3.
Do we have any changes to resistances that might be changing maybe sooner or later, or how's that going to work?
Resistances fall in one of those categories where if we need to make a change to the way that resistance damage is, or rather, the way that players use resistance to mitigate damage from certain sources. And it's going to be a far-reaching change when we actually go through and make this, which means that we want to be able to take the time with it and do it properly. It's going to be, right now we plan to put that into Season 2 as part of a larger rework. So you can look forward to more information as we get a little bit closer to Season 2.
Shadow Mun, sorry. Can campaign bosses be added to the pool of dungeon bosses that we encounter? I feel like campaign bosses are underutilized.
I think there could be more opportunities to fight some of those campaign bosses in the future.
Season 4!
I can't comment further on exactly
what the fuck,
how that
dude.
will look, but I agree with that sentiment.
Sounds good. Okay.
Joe has often said this, so like we definitely want to make sure we find the right ways to bring
Season 9, Season 8, Season 7, Season 6.
This is actually a question. Party Cannon 30. Hi there, guys. Can you? Thanks for the information. My question is about crashes on PlayStation 5. Is that a known issue? We are aware of some issues on consoles, specifically Xbox, PlayStation, like that may be having crash issues and whatnot from their side. I do want to note, like I know with 1.10, there was a bug fix towards a specific memory leak that the team was trying to identify and find, and they actually did find it, and it was addressed there. There was actually an additional fix in 1.11 because I've seen a lot of questions, whether on Reddit and so forth, about PC performance and so forth, and even on like just performance in general, that will be addressed there. And I know that the team, the engineers here, are still actively, troubleshooting and figuring out like specific situations that players might be running into. Of course, if you have like more information on those, please post your bugs on our forums.
Face my bullets.
And give as much information as possible. Because a lot of those repro steps on our side are sometimes really difficult, and it helps our teams out, helps our QA teams out to be able to see if they can actually repro the same type of issues that players are having.
Welcome in.
Do you guys plan on introducing more ways? Oh, sorry, this is Mr. I don't want to butcher that. Okay. Do you guys plan on introducing more craft / modify gear? Currently, only gold has value, and only one stack can be rolled.
More ways to craft and modify gear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, we do want to add more more options for players to be able to kind of modify the items they're getting. What we have really in the preseason and now in the Season 1 state is still very like a baseline experience in terms of item modification. We are looking at more opportunities in the future to allow players to do more with their items. So yeah, that is a plan for the future.
The Almighty Striker says, why does the Necrominions why do they take ability slots? It could be easily a different
That's
button.
obvious.
How many of Necrominion builds have beat Uber Lilith? Lots of questions about, is there... we already answered the drop rates for uniques and so forth. That was the second part of the question. But I guess the question mostly is about Necromancer minions and ability slots. Also, I saw other questions related to companions, whether they're Druid companions with wolves or Necromancer minions, if there's any changes or plans for those to actually potentially get a little bit more tweaked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is something we do care about. One of the things that that sounded dismissive.
Yeah, we care about a lot of things, but go on.
What I was just trying to get to another point, which is there's some really cool stuff in some of the Malignant Hearts that affects this, in terms of like kind of getting credit for additional abilities.
Yeah.
And we do care a lot about the number of the sort of like ratio of ability to number of slots that it takes up and making that as optimal as possible.
Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure that if you're going to play a necromancer and you're going to summon skeletons, that you are going to be. I mean, that takes up that's the weight of an ability. You know, like it's the same as having an active. You know, you need to like playing with it. It's going to take a little bit of space in your bar. You don't get that in addition to a bunch of other things. If you don't want to have skeletons on your bar right now, the idea that you'd sacrifice a lot of those skills in order to give you that extra space. And in terms of the viability of like minion builds at various parts of the game, there are some builds that are able to like get pretty deep into content, obviously, but I think there's still room for improvement in terms of like minion survivability and other conversations along those lines. That is something that's still happening. And then there was the other conversation, the question about druid companions, right?
Yeah, kind of similar to necromancer minions, and people were asking like,
going on
would that be a viable thing?
Yeah, I think possibly. We see players. Actually, there are a few players that run like literally all 3 companion skills and use that as part of the build that they'll go after for their druid. And I think that there's likely room here to do more with companion skills. Whether it rises to the full level of like a complete like spec, I think is going to be interesting. But I know that there's people on the team that are very excited about trying to explore more of this side of the druid over time. But we don't have there aren't as many interconnecting points for the way that you interact with your companions right now, and the way that like the skeleton army does for the necromancer, in terms of ways that you modify them and do more with them. So I think there's some groundwork we need to do to like provide a lot more options there, but something the team's interested in. Yeah.
I'm going to do one last question here, which is, will there be better loot tables for like treasure goblins, any alternate goblin types specifically for those?
Yeah, I think we loved how many, D3 has like all kinds of goblins. There's like 10 different kinds of goblins, or 14 maybe. It's been a little while since I looked at that data in the editor. But we think that there's lots of room for there to be more fun goblin types in the future.
And in terms of the treasure goblins have a tendency to provide, we actually I had a conversation with the lead systems designer last week talking about this. We are going to be buffing like legendary drop chance, for example, from items that will appear from treasure goblins. We do want them to be to feel a little bit more exciting when the moment they drop.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, I know we talked about a lot today. I just want to recap some stuff that we had mentioned today. Obviously, we've been hearing a lot of feedback regarding the patch, and we're telling you guys now that we completely hear you loud and clear. We don't plan on doing patches like this ever again, where we're not going to be essentially removing the fun and the player power from players drastically like this. Yeah. And if we ever do that for any type of class, like a build or whatnot, we'll make sure that there's always some really good alternatives for players to actually be able to try out a different build that will also be boosted way back up to kind of help out and give other options for players to actually kind of jump into. And we will ourselves do a better job of course, communicating back to the community. Again, what we're saying now is that we will be getting patch notes in front of the community way earlier in advance, whether through a Campfire chat or through like a blog of some sort or any type of communication, so that you guys can get a better chance at looking at patch notes beforehand, seeing any type of changes that might be coming down beforehand. Because I think communication was key here. I think you guys not seeing what we were planning on doing and us kind of giving that vision really affected a lot of the.
We won't ever do this again, but if we do,
from you guys, and I think if we just provided that over to everyone and gave a little bit more of a heads up, I think it would have helped a whole lot there from that specific situation.
Well, also keeping in mind. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's absolutely one part of it, and you were talking about it in a more full way, but I want to really make sure I hit on, like, one of the really great points of feedback that we've been seeing is like, why can you nerf things today and then buff things far in the future, right? And so what we're saying is, not only is there a change to communication, but we're also going to pair changes like that together so that we don't have exactly the situation that players have called out as unfair.
Yep, most definitely. And of course, with 111 coming really soon. We are committing to another Campfire chat next week, next Friday. Probably the same time. We'll confirm. More than likely, it'll be 11 a.m. next Friday.
I don't know,
We'll end up
man.
posting about the details over the next week, so that just as a reminder to the community. And there, we'll actually go through all the changes that we just talked about here into greater detail. Joe, I know, will end up providing greater detail changes on like the barbarian and sorcerer adjustments that we're going to be making based off of community feedback. And then, of course, we'll also be talking about just essentially everything in the patch notes for that. Patch 1.1.1 will be coming out in a couple weeks. With us having a stream next Friday, I anticipate it being very soon or shortly after the stream specifically. So, and again, we do have a hotfix today that we will be rolling out this afternoon. We'll be having notes related to that hotfix here really soon, and there's a lot of changes in there, including the Nightmare Dungeon changes that we talked about today. So, again, thank you guys for the feedback. We most definitely hear you loud and clear. You know, it's something that we wanted to address, and it's something very you know, important for the team here, for us to actually address the community and talk to you guys more about it, and also change some of the ways that we were doing specific items or specific processes. So we really do appreciate the feedback. Of course, continue providing feedback to us. It's really important for the game itself and for us to make a better experience for the players out there. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you next Friday for the next Campfire chat to talk about patch 1.1.1 and all the changes that are coming up. Really appreciate it.
Bummer. That's an L. Who said Big W? Big W. I put L, dude. That's an L. Waste of time. Emo only! Lol. They won't even let me do the fucking emotes. Wow. So what's this guy got?
Okay. This is what they have said. Okay. Nightmare Dungeon changes. Monster density increase. 40% respec cost reduction. 4150 will be faster. 100 they want to feel not like a job. Barb and Sork will actually be a class now. Inventory, Gym Season 2 is still the same thing. Leaderboards, Uber Uniques drop rate buff. Crowd control, it's a problem. Armory loadout sometime in the future. Loot filters and target farming in a couple weeks. So we have a timeline on the Barb and Sork changes. Plan for resistances. Campaign bosses they laughed about, which basically means they're coming to the game. Crashes on PS5. Memory leak issues. Necrominion exploration. Then the feedback and apology on the patch. That is what they have said so far. So they have definitely said some things. All right, just throwing that out there.
Advance, whether through a Campfire chat or through like a blog of some sort or any type of communication, so that you guys can get a better chance at looking at patch notes beforehand, seeing any type of changes that might be coming down beforehand.
All right. Huh. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back real quickly, and then I think we'll play a little bit of Diablo 4 and see if my stream crashes.
Said. LOL.
Look at this. You think I want to go in this tunnel and it got stuff like this?
Security alert. Ground peace. Mission failure will result in permanent relocation.
Executed. You didn't hit him one time, my guy? Oh, I'm sick.
I know, right?
Dude, Turret did all the work. You didn't do it. You didn't just like blow on him, like just a little bit.
Fuck out of here, you fucking bitch.
Ooh, hook. Top right.
Oh, it's fucking locked. Go, 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 don't look back. You can't come through. Oh shit! You can come through! Oh!
Stacks of strange dust.
Where you going?
BJ's.
What the?
BJ's.
You don't gotta go anywhere for that.
No.
Huh?
Stupid as fuck. The
Right there.
I need to put this one. Me? Is that me?
And is this me?
It's because let's see if we crash. Well, let's see. All right. Shall we? After the campfire chat?
And we've been hearing a lot of feedback regarding the patch, and you know we're telling you guys now that we completely hear you loud and clear. We don't plan on doing patches like this ever again, where we're not going to be essentially removing the fun in the player power.
Oh my god. They said we effed up and broke down everything. One extra tab. Trash. Henry Cavill, Warhammer? My shit lagging? See, that helps. Oh! Oh, it went through. Alright, let's see. Did that help?
I cannot do that here.
Where's Chad? Chad? Bro, what is that lag? Like, does that happen to anyone else?
Well, it was human, I'm sorry to say. Lilith's corruption. Malignant, I call them. As you saw, their corruption can't. Not enough. That's why I've come. I'm hoping you and...
It's chess.
Cages of bind.
What's this? What happened? What the fuck?
I need more time.
My shit's like locked, bro. What the fuck? What the hell? Bro, what the hell is going on?
I cannot do that here.
Uh. Put on everything low? Okay. Damn, the skeletons take hella damage. I feel like.
I'm not ready yet.
I'm still lagging, bro.
Oh, thank the heavens. I was afraid you wouldn't come. But I need time.
There's not enough materials.
Huh. Where's my...
Mage is at 15. Do I need to do this cellar? Fuck. Activate premium. Should I even activate the premium? Invoker? Okay, we gotta go down there. What's this?
I'm out of essence.
Did I get any hearts yet, or what?
I need more essence. I lack the required essence.
We get corpse explosion? I get.
Wait, what the fuck?
Need more essence.
Where I get Golem?
I need more essence.
Okay. Resource draining effects. That seems bad. Wait. Oh, wait, actually.
I cannot use that.
Has to be matching? Oh, come on.
I'm out of essence.
How many more monsters do I need?
I'm not ready yet. I'm low on essence.
Malignant heart. What do we get?
I cannot.
They don't match. They don't match, so I can't put them in the thing. I need a blue one, right?
It's locked.
An invoker? I don't have an invoker! How do I make that? Do I have to go to the malignant research? So I'm gonna lose my portal, I'm gonna have to do the dungeon again.
I cannot do that here. I need time to do that.
That's horrible. How am I supposed to make this evoker?
I'm not ready yet.
What the fuck? I gotta go way over there? Bro. Seriously?
I need time to do that.
Those whispers? There is whispers. Big lag. Why is it lagging so much? Well, how far is this?
I lack the required essence.
Defender? Crepify?
I'm not ready yet. I lack the required essence.
I'm not healing. Still can't use any of these.
Low on essence.
Watch out! What the fuck was that? Oh, he's down here. I like how the minions kind of like block him from getting to me. Oh, I'm about to die, bro. What the fuck? Whoa. Okay. Are we done? Is that it?
It's locked.
I don't have this. Then I gotta go over here. Bro.
I cannot do that here.
Make some more coffee. Right back 1 second. All right. We got. I always lag right there. Okay, so I make that, huh? And then what? I can't salvage. Hi. Okay, so before I do this, I gotta see. Family just got home. Getting ready for my daughter's birthday party tomorrow, so might have to be headed out here. Let's see. Hi.
I need more time. I'm low on essence. I need more time.
Yep, I got stuff to do, so after this dungeon. These guys are whooping me. I don't have any malignants either.
Joe, can you hear me?
Well,
Joe, can you hear me?
yeah.
What's up, dude?
What's up? Are you playing Diablo?
Diablo. You know it.
Nice. Level 9.
Nice. I'm level 33. I got level 33 last night and then just got on to it.
What'd you make?
Druid.
Oh, nice.
And I was gonna play Sork, but then I saw the notes and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna play Sork.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about the notes. It's a turtle. Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to get off, actually, because I gotta set up for my daughter's party. That's tomorrow.
Was it her birthday or something?
Yeah, it was on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then tomorrow's my friends are coming over. So I gotta do stuff.
That'll be fun.
But I should be back later.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be in World Tier 3 sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I lack the required essence.
What do you said you're playing Necro?
Yeah.
Nice.
Kinda wanted to do like minions. But I don't know.
There's a couple minion.
Yeah,
there's a couple that are good. Yeah. There's a lot of them require a lot of like legendaries and shit, you know.
Yeah.
Or uniques, I mean. But yeah.
Kind of druid.
Everyone says they. I think I'll just play Pulverize until the meta's really figured out, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just saving all the legendaries and shit, so hey, if there's like a big meta change, I can swap over, you know.
Yeah, true.
But like, I started a new druid in the Eternal Realm and got to 83 at this Pulverizer, and Pulverizing is fun, so I'll probably just stick with this for now.
Yeah, this time around I want to level as a group so I can get more XP instead of like solo.
Yeah. Well, you gotta catch up first, dog.
Yeah. I'll get there.
You waited a whole day.
Yeah, I had like a corrupted file on my Diablo, and every time I would launch Diablo, it would crash my PC.
Oh shit.
So I had to install the whole game.
What, man? Uh-huh.
That goes right there. That umbrella goes where it is. No? But I need to put it together. Okay, do you have a list? Got a list.
The honeydew list. Did you ended up moving, right?
Yeah. Get out of the apartment.
Nice. Do you like a new place?
Oh yeah, I got a whole room for streaming now.
Nice.
I was streaming in the bedroom.
Yeah. Now you're not up pissing Melissa off all night.
Yeah. Melissa and Josie.
Yeah. I'm
like, let's go. Thanks for the rain.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I need to.
Have you?
What's up?
Have you been working on your season chapter thing? What is it called? Season journey.
How do I open that?
You.
It's
really
chapter
important.
1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. You do that stuff. Have you done that? Have you started doing the quest for the Malignant Hearts yet? Either?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've just been like focusing on.
Yeah, so I'd recommend doing, like, you're going to get to a point where it's going to say you can't go any further until you
do the season journey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I mean, it's all like relatively easy stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like
there's nothing that's like a total pain in the ass.
Play the game, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just it forces you to do a little bit of everything, which at first I was kind of annoyed about, but then now I'm like, well, you know, I'm doing stuff that I haven't done before, you know, so
yeah,
it's not terrible.
Boy, I finally got a Malignant Heart.
Are you doing the dungeons?
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing the dungeon.
I'm getting ready to do one too.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring back the dance parties.
Goodness. I haven't even. I've hopped on Kick that one time, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard building up a whole like base of people you watch on that. You know, like I follow so many people on Twitch. You know.
Yeah. I like it because when you pull up into a stream, you don't have to watch an ad.
Yeah, that is nice. I agree with that. Well, I never really. So this is I've like not said anything about it because I don't want Twitch to hear me and fuck me over, but I've never on Twitch gotten an ad. Never.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have ad blocker or something?
So. No.
Yeah, babe.
Never.
What, do you get cupcakes? Okay. I can do that. You leaving? Okay. Josie knows what I'm supposed to do. Got it. Perfect. I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna do that. Okay. Where is she?
Got DC.
Okay. Alright. I did a dungeon, I didn't have an evoker, and I was pissed.
Well, you don't get those until you do the quest, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of doing the quest. That's what I actually have to do that for my chapter 3. I'm waiting on my buddy that to get on because I got off like he works till like 2 in the morning generally, so I was going to bed when he got on. I'm wondering how far he got last night.
Okay, use the invoker on a brutal outgrowth. Okay, let's go for the blue one.
You have to have the correlating color.
Socket?
No, on the invoker.
Oh.
But they should, if you're doing the quest, they'll give you one that matches the dungeon.
Oh. They should have made a hearts tab.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude.
What's up with that?
The gems are so fucking annoying. Like, the fact that your bags are full of gems plus now malignums to you.
Yeah. I'm actually like surprised they didn't add like a whole tab for that.
They still adding a tab for, and man, I can't fucking log back in.
We're adding a tabs. When? Season 2. When's that? 90 days. Oh, wow.
Well,
yeah.
The part that bugs me is like there are a few alts, my banks are full. Like
yeah. Separate.
So now you're just stuck in that. I cannot log in. They should have like one universal tab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's account wide, and then one that's
well, that's not
account.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go handle business, and then I'll see when I can come back. I'll hit you up. Peace. Alright, chat. We don't have. Let me see. We don't have. Let me see. We don't have enough people to raid, so we're gonna end the stream. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed your stay. And we'll see you later. Maybe. If you guys are good. If I'm good, if I get my business done. Yep.